Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to TWR. My name is Tavy, and this is my world of reptiles, and I hope you are all doing amazing and taking care of yourselves today. It is another awesome day here at TWR. It is still early. It is still dark outside. I think it's like barely hitting 5 o'clock. I haven't even turned the lights on yet. I'm just kind of moving along. Just turning on my bedroom lights, but I haven't turned on animal lights. But I did notice that Bellatrix here had shed, and I know that I had mentioned that she wasn't shed and shown you on her blue a little bit ago, but unfortunately it was not the prettiest of shed, and that's my bad. It's my human error. I actually forgot that I was supposed to be keeping her area a little bit humid right now because of her shedding, and so I let it dry out for a couple of days, and so then she shed, and so did Zuko, and both of them had a pretty rough shed. Not the worst. I mean, hold on. I mean, you can see that there's definitely full strips here. It's just, it's definitely not a full-on thing, but also, unfortunately, it looks like Bellatrix here has got some stuck shed on her eyeball. It looks like it's partially raised up, but I don't want to just immediately go for trying to pull that off. It's not very much. It's a small little bit. I think I'm just going to give the enclosure another mist down first, and let her see if she can work it off on her own. I'm just not a fan of immediately going to trying to grab at my snake's heads and my eyeballs to get an eye cap. This is a very freshly done shed, so it's not like it's been on there for very long, and I think if given the opportunity with a little bit of humidity, she can absolutely get the rest of this shed off of her face and off of that eye on her own, so I'm going to give her the opportunity to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and give her a little mist down and give the entire enclosure another solid mist down, one more solid mist down, and then I will check on her later on tonight, and if that is still there, I will then reach in and I will get her, and I will pull it off or help her get it off, but I'm not going to immediately jump into just grabbing my snake's head and doing all that. Like they can manage to do all of this extra bit most of themselves, and if just given the opportunity with a little bit of assistance, with a little bit of humidity, they can sometimes get the stuck eye caps off too. So I'm not jumping straight into grabbing her face for all that. So but yeah, most of the other skin is off, so I gotta do some cleaning of that. It's definitely stretched all around in the back over there as well, so we just gotta do some general cleaning and maintenance of this enclosure now, that there is some skin all over the place, which is good, because I guess I can do a little bit of rearranging of some stuff as well, and just trying to make things look a little bit different for them, or at least for her. This is her enclosure, so but yeah, so that's Bellatrix there, all freshly shed. Overall, besides the eye shed, I mean, she's looking really good. She's looking absolutely stunning. Beautiful. Yeah, there's a lot of maintenance that needs to be done in here for sure. But yeah, there she is. So she's looking really, really good. So I'm going to come and get this stuff up out of here. And then I'll be back, and we'll continue on when I have finished this task. I don't want to get distracted and forget. So alright, so another one that I haven't actually shared in a while is Tigger. Now, I talked about him and all of this stuff, but I haven't actually shown him in a while. So I figured I'll go ahead and get him out today. Now, Tigger's actual... I got Tigger from a pet store here locally, not the one I work at, but a different one. It was the only reptile store in town when I first moved here. And so I got him from there like a couple years back. And the owners there had pretty much fallen, at least the owner and then a couple of volunteers that worked there had fallen in love with Tigger, and they loved him a lot, and he was definitely a store favorite, and he had been, I think, there for a while, and like taken or almost taken and then not taken, and so I ended up getting him, and so they've been really appreciative of being able to actually kind of see him still and see where he's at and see pictures and see videos and all those good things. But recently one of them reached out and was like, hey, I haven't seen Tigger in a while, so how's he doing? How are you doing? So I figure you're right. I hadn't seen Tigger. I hadn't shown Tigger to her, and I hadn't seen Tigger to you guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and get Tigger out. Now, the great thing about this thing now is ever since I put these these arboreal enclosures, these hides in here. If you don't remember that video, go ahead and watch that here. But I put those arboreal hides in, and you know what? There's pros and cons to it. There's pros and cons to it. The pro right now is that it does make them easier to get out, because once upon a time he'd get himself wrapped around everything, tree branches and all the stuff, and I couldn't get him out, and it was just always a pain in the butt. And why is this door not opening? What is the malfunction here? Oh, there we go. And so it was always just so hard to get him out. But now, with these hides, woo, you see, he's a mess. Do you hear that? That is him smacking his tail. You can see it flicking right there. I don't actually handle him too often, not more as much as I used to. And I think, as you can see, it really shows. Come on, baby. Because he's super just like very flighty. He's very jumpy. He's not very bitey. He's just flighty. He's just like, I'm going to take off. I'm just going to suddenly go. I just got to get away. But these are tree snakes. So they're naturally fast, just fast moving animals. Like just so fast, so sleek, just slicking through the tree branches of the trees with ease, and just fastness and just, woof. I mean, they're amazing. Just thinking about how he moves in my hands, I can only imagine what that looks like in the trees. I have gotten to see some wild caught footage of them. I know Dan over at DM Exotics has gotten some wild caught footage of some different rat snakes there, and he's actually owns and I think and breeds some of these beautiful snakes here. Oh, by the way, I'm just jumped into Tigger and all this other stuff. For those of you guys who do not know what Tigger is, Tigger is a tiger rat snake. They are like I said, super fast arboreal tree snake, and they get really, really long. I think even Tigger could probably grow a little bit more, and they're like usually pretty thick body, not thick, not super thick. They're sleek body. They got this like tapered top that, you know, if you were to see something like that on a ball python or a boa, you would think that's an emaciated snake, but this particular snake is built like that for the sleek movement of the tree movements and all that good stuff. And so these guys are super amazing. They're just super long. They've got this wild long tail, like all the way from here down. All that's all tail. That is all of Tigger's tail there. As you can see, I mean, he's just a flighty boy. He's not bitey. Now you see some footage and they look like they got some temperaments, and I'm sure they really can. But I think with a lot of handling and a lot of working with them, they can be absolutely just amazing creatures and amazing pets. I mean, he's super beautiful, and they make really great display enclosure pets. My problem again. With this particular arboreal hide is that does take away a lot of that display behavior. I mean, it does allow them to do their naturalistic tree behavior where they would, hunker up somewhere high and safe in the trees, and so he's able to do that in there. But unfortunately, it means he's not coming down and he's not like just hunkering up on his branches up high instead of being down on the ground. He's just in his hide, and I hardly get to see him, which is why we don't get to see very much picture-wise of him or anything. And so that's been a whole nother thing as well. And so I'm actually thinking about how I can encourage him to come out of those hides just a little bit more. I'm thinking if I put a not too hot, but just whatever type of a heat lamp inside, like that produces light, that would encourage him to come out and bask in that area, therefore coming out and being seen a little bit more during the day. And I think that might help me be able to at least see that kind of behavior, because I do love that he uses his arboreal hides, but I also wish I could see him a little bit more. And so I think if I were to provide a light in there that puts off heat, but not too much heat, they don't need a lot of heat, but some heat that makes him want to come out and bask in that area, then I can be able to see him a little bit more. So that's something that I'm working with him as well. But also something I when you are a keeper of species that you're not 100%, aware of, and you haven't been keeping, long term, you got to learn things as you go. And when you're realizing, when you're needing to decide when you're when you need to decide when you need to up the food of your snake, sometimes that can get a little bit hard to decide on when it's time to do that. And I realized that I think I probably should have been upping not the size, but how much I'm actually providing to Tigger a little bit. I think I've been feeding him like two decent sized rat pups that are, like about, that big, not quite as big as the center because they don't really eat large prey. They're not super great at eating things that are super large. So I try to keep his meals reasonably smaller, but just giving him multiple of those meals. But I think I could probably be giving him more than what I have been giving him. I think I've only been giving him like two, maybe even three well, no, if they're decent sized rat putts, I'll give him like two. But sometimes if they're small, I'll only give him three. But I mean, at his size, I think he could probably be eating more. I think he's not an unhealthy shape, but he's definitely not as he's not as girthy as he actually should be and could be. Oh, that is actually still healthy. I'm not saying that I want him to be obese, but if you look at some wild caught other snakes, even that are about his size, they still got a little bit more girth. They've got a bit more girth to them than he's gotten. So I really want to get his size up. I can see that. I can acknowledge that. And as his owner, it's my responsibility to make sure that I'm actually taking care of him and getting him as healthy as possible. And he could be healthier. And so I'm going to make sure I start feeding him a few extra meat feeders a week. Right now I feel like I'm doing when I do 2 and 3. That always feels like a lot for me because just like in general, I have this rule of thumb of not feeding like multiple feeding, prey. I like to try to find that one size, that fits for the snake and go from there as opposed to feeding multiple smaller prey, when it comes to most of my other snakes. But this is not like, a boa or a python. It's an arboreal colubrid snake, and it is a very fast and very active snake. And it was absolutely use more calories than either of those other ones use. And so therefore should be eating a lot more. And so I need to make sure that I'm feeding him more and to go with the level of energy that he actually exudes, which is a lot more than my pythons or my ball python or my boas. Even my reticulated pythons, even my carpet python, as active as they are, he is still significantly more active than they are. Like, especially when he's out and about, you can see he just goes. And if I were to let him out around the room, he would just like fly and climb and roam and be all over the place and burn so many more calories than any of those other species. And so I need to be feeding him more to go along with how much calories he actually burns. And so, that's just something to remember when you're dealing with different species of snakes. They're not all going to be the same general type of feeding. Some of them will be weekly and some of them will be multiple weekly because multiple times a week because of the fact that they are significantly more active. And so they're going to be burning through those calories a lot faster than the other species. And so therefore they do need to eat more. And it's kind of it's a thing to remember when you having so many different animals that have different needs, and how much they eat is different, and how much they burn off is different, and how their activities levels are all different. And it's a thing to remember, but it's important. It's important to stop every once in a while, to look around, look at your animal, pay attention, and be like, okay, you look good, but you can look better based off of this, and now this is what I need to do to get you there. And so now we're going to do that. We're going to get you to a much healthier weight, and you're going to be great, and we're going to be good. And so Tigger is here. He is still alive and kicking, y'all. As you can see, still very healthy, still very active, just a non-moving noodle who doesn't really ever seem to stop. I guess he would. It usually takes about 10 or 15 minutes before he actually like slows down enough to like, okay, all right, I'll just use this as a tree instead of trying to get away. But it's been a while, honestly, since I've taken him out. And so he's definitely like, woo, I'm enjoying this outside time right now. And I'm just going to let him have some more time out and about, and try to take him more out and make sure that I talk a little bit more about him and feature him a little bit more on the channel. I do need to do an actual video on the actual species and their actual care and all the good things, because I don't know if I've actually done that. with this guy. And if I did, it's been a while. It's been a long while, and I guess it's about time for me to do it again if I haven't. So, but yeah, that's Tigger, y'all. He's still doing absolutely amazing, looking really great. Just needs to come up a little bit more in the weight area. I need to feed him a little bit more frequently. I can see that now. And so now I'm going to go ahead and make that move to make sure that I am feeding him more frequently than I'm doing. Probably a combination of both. Yeah, he's a beautiful boy, and he's looking really great. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let him chill out with me for a little bit. And, ooh-wee. All right. So check this out, y'all. Good morning, Rogue. Just turning on the lights. I know it's last night, too, but it looks like sometime in the evening, we had a huge scale explosion. It looks like the belly scales from Rogue Girl up there, that's where she decided to sleep. You can see that she's got a lot of shedding happening. She's got some large pieces hanging off of her right there, doing their thing. She's got her whole tail getting ready to shed off. I'm still super stoked about that leg. This other leg has popped off some shed, and it just is still black. So I was really hoping that maybe there'd be more white that comes through, but it looks like just that new patch of white right there on the leg is all that we're gonna get on the legs of this new shed. So it's still really amazing to see. You can almost even see, like maybe even during the next shed, those two dots on the side of the darker one, maybe those will come through a little bit more. I mean, it's just been a really amazing experience to watch these colors and the whiteness come through and the new patterns come through when things fade out. Like, it's just been so fun to watch. And I'm sure that's not been a very comfortable experience for her. I mean, this couldn't have been very comfortable to get off, but she got it off along with a couple of other pieces over here, like this one here. There's another piece. More pieces. So she's definitely been doing some shedding up in here, working on that, just exploding out of her skin. So I'm going to give some maintenance, get all this stuff cleaned up here, get all this old food out, make sure I get her some fresh food in here, make sure if I find any poops, we get those out of there before they start to stink. Oh, looks like she got a dubia roach that fell into her water there. More skin inside the water. So yeah, definitely a little bit of a mess. But that's progress, you know, that's what it is. When the animals are growing, they got to make a mess. They got to get that old skin off, and she's done it. She's doing it. She's getting that old skin off. So I imagine I'll come in today, and there'll be more of that off today. I'm going to go ahead and get this all out, though. Get this out. Ooh. All this out, and then I want to get her some fresh food in here. Go turn on any other lights I need to. I think I need to still turn on. Oh, nope, I already turned on Juicy's light. I need to go turn on Mango's light, and I need to just get everybody awake. Oh, and Muffy, good gracious, Tadashi's lights as well. So. Yeah, no, that's the early morning maintenance stuff that you got to do with your animals, and gotta love when I see animals growing and actually doing well. The garbage. So yeah, I mean, it's a good morning. It's good morning. The lights are only just coming on. I think it's like let's see here. What time is it? It's 5:16. So it's 5:16 in the morning. So I just turned on some of my lights. No, some people are like, why are your lights turned on at 5:16? Because that's my schedule. That's when I'm most active. That's what works for me. And then I can get home and I can turn them out around 5 in the evening or whatever. And, you know, still be able to interact with them. But also, like, get the lights off and get them on a thing. But it's my schedule. It's when I'm most active. And so sometimes, you know, when you're trying to figure out your lights and things, and yes, you know, a lot of people will put it based off of the, you know, their destination or where they're at and, like, you know, what the time is like there. But I personally also go off of, you know, there's that, but there's also my schedule of when I am active. Now, of course, you know, they do still need a night and day, but, you know, their night and their day is just a little bit earlier than probably others. So as my night and my day is a little bit earlier than others. So, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of finish cleaning up here inside of Rogue's enclosure. I'm not gonna keep rambling in this video. You know, it's just another vlog style video showing you what I'm doing, enjoying my day. Showed you guys Tigger, and he's back inside of his enclosure now. Well, he's still on the ground because he's about to start asking to come out now. Because once he gets that taste of coming out, then he's just like, oh right, I can come out of this box. Now I want to. So, and so he'll start begging here in a little bit. But I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this video and get myself ready for work. And you all take care of yourselves, love your loved ones, love your reptiles, and you all keep spreading those herbs.